I wanted to share a little secret with you today, and it's about your health savings account and how you really can use that to your benefit for your retirement. Now, before I dive into this, if you learn anything, if this is interesting to you, please like and subscribe. I'm sharing my journey around retirement and savings, and hopefully you might learn something from it. So, the reason I wanted to bring this up is your health savings account is a huge vehicle for you to save. It's something that they don't really tell you about. I mean, they talk about maybe, you can use the dollars in your health savings account for your medical expenses. Some people might even use that triple tax benefit. So today I thought, let me dive into what is a health savings account, why it's important, and more than anything, how you really can use it for your retirement. It was something that I really didn't look at for most of my career. I mean, the reality is, in most of my career, we were probably on a PPO or some other type of medical plan. Really didn't have access to health savings accounts. They really didn't take off, maybe about 20 years ago. But even when that took off, depending upon your company, you might not have been able to get into one. Today, most people have access to a high deductible medical plan, which then allows you to have a health savings account. And they're great at different points in time. And the ability to be able to really save money in these accounts is great. And another reason is your employer sometimes gives you money. So maybe if you're single, they might give you $1,000 in your account. If you're married and you have a family plan, maybe they give you $1,500 or $2,000 in an account. It's free money, but you got to remember that when you go to the doctor or you have a visit, you pretty much get charged the full amount, up to different deductibles. Now, why is this important? I mean, first off, obviously medical costs today are really high. Medical is probably one of the things I don't like most about, the cost of things today, because it can widely swing from year to year. Yes, maybe this year you don't have an accident, but the next year you do, and you get hit with a $4,000 charge, and it really can be difficult to manage. And so that's why a big reason why I don't like medical in general. But when it comes back to retirement, I found this article and I thought, let me bring this up. Right, this talks about an average 65-year-old today is going to have $172,000 in medical expenses. And again, this says excluding dental and long-term care. So this is just you're going to your doctors, maybe you have high blood pressure or something like that, and you're paying co-pays along the way. It can add up to close to $200,000. And this is the cost today. I'm not even ready to retire. And what's the cost going to be there? So huge value there. Now, when we dive into a lot of the benefits of health savings account, we always talk about, number one, it comes out tax free. You don't pay taxes on it, which is great. And I'm going to look at the tax bracket so you can kind of see what could that turn into, right? The other thing is you can invest it. And I'm actually doing something that I usually don't do. I'm going to share my numbers so you can see some of the growth that you can get by investing the money. I don't have mine in anything wild. I mean, the one account isn't doing great. Other accounts are doing wonderful. And so by you taking that money and investing it, you can really see a huge growth over the long period of time. And so let's dive right into the tax. Oh, and the third thing I should have said was the money comes out tax free, like your pre-tax 401k where you put in the money, you don't pay tax today. That's great. It grows. But when you take the money out, you pay taxes on that. Or in Roth's case, you pay the tax now, but then when you take it out in the future, it can grow and take it out in the future. You don't pay tax then. This is the only one that you put it in and you don't pay tax. And when you take it out, you don't pay tax. So let's look at the tax brackets. Now, so this is from 2026. These are the different tax brackets. If you're filing single or you're married, these are some interesting numbers for you to look at. So let's use the scenario of, maybe you're a single person and you're making $85,000 a year. here's that tax bracket. So, you got to take out the standard deduction. So that's why I'm saying, like $80,000. If you take out the standard deductions are down here, it's 16 and 32. So if you take out 16,000, you're in that 22% tax bracket. So if you put $1,000 into your health savings account, you're going to save $220. I mean, it's $220 that you didn't pay tax on today. You can let that money grow. And again, when you take it out, you're not paying tax on it. If you're married, right, and both you and your spouse are working, and you're making, let's put $150,000, right? You're in that 22% tax bracket. So you're easily saving, by putting it in there, you're saving 22% right off the bat in this case, right? You could be saving 12%, 10%. I mean, that's 10% and 12% on, $1,000 going in could be $100, $120, $220, right? Like, so you want to put that money to work. So that's really important. Now, the key in all of this, I would say, is, and this is something that I didn't know at the beginning. So I had a health savings account. We were putting in, let's say $2,000, $3,000. And I looked at it as a great benefit, right? I could put it in and not pay the 22% or the 12%, whatever the tax bracket was. And then we went to the doctors and we got the bill and it was $150. And you know what I did? I took the money immediately out and paid the doctor with it. And I said, oh, it was great. I didn't pay tax on that visit to the doctor. Well, I was missing the opportunity cost there. See, that's the biggest problem is what you ideally, again, this isn't tax advice. This is just my own journey. What you really need to do is not use the money and let it grow in the market. And again, for the first few years when I had a health savings account, I put the money in and immediately used it. I almost thought of it like if I put $2,000 in, I wanted to use all $2,000 at the end of the year, kind of like a flexible spending account. And at some point in my career at my employer, I was talking to some executives and they said, no, you want to put the money in, pay the doctor's visits out of your own pocket and let the money grow. And from that day on, I have pretty much stayed, with that goal in mind. There have been instances where, glasses come up or braces or something like that, where it's been a larger purchase, really didn't have the funds available. So I did pull it from my HSA. But in general, I have put money in and I've just let it grow. I've actually, because of life choices, right? My wife now has a PPO, and health savings plans are great, I think, especially if you can put the money in and you really don't have huge doctor's visits, right? If you're having consistent visits to the doctor, it's not the ideal plan in my own opinion. And, because of my daughter's sports activities, we were using it over and over and over. It was quite expensive. So we switched to my wife's plan, which is a PPO. So now we just pay co-pays. But I had a sizable amount of money. Again, don't know off the top of my head exactly what it was. Maybe it was $20,000, maybe $30,000. I to be honest, I do forget. But let me show you what I have today in the account. Again, typically have not done that because I didn't want to share my own story. But the reality is you can't figure back, my income from that. So let me bring up what my health savings account has today. And, I brought this picture up because you can see here, I actually haven't added any money to the account, again, in quite a few years, to be honest. But over the last 3 years, you can see we've had an 18.5% growth, over $8,000 of just growth in the last 3 years. It might even be less because we've switched out the savings account plans. So the 1 year had a value, and the 3 year had this. The 5 year was the same as the 3 year again, since we've moved around health savings account plans. But you can see the Vanguard Target Environment, a Retirement 2060 fund, has made over $5,000. The Vanguard International has made almost a little over $1,700. The Vanguard Growth has done a little over $1,200. And it's funny that the mid cap isn't up much at all, right? So you can see a 2% growth, 11%, 41 for the international. It's been great the last year plus on that. And again, the target one is up over 23%. So if you're not investing your health savings account, I'm going to strongly encourage, again, it's not, the market goes up, the market goes down. That's part of investing. But I think over the long term, if you have a diverse portfolio, and again, I picked only 4 funds, divided it out. I don't know if I should or shouldn't rebalance. I probably should. I haven't looked at that feature, but you can really see the growth. And again, if this is $8,000, again, maybe I had $45,000 in here again, and over a period of time, you make $10,000. All that 10,000 was tax free. And again, if I was paying a 22%, that's over $2,000, right? So really you can take advantage of not paying taxes going in, seeing that growth, and then really taking out the money tax free, again, as long as it's used for medical expenses. So I hope you learned something here. I'm a big proponent of it. Again, if you have access to it, please try to use it. And again, the real goal of it, and I'm not saying you always have to do it. Again, didn't always do it, but try to keep that money in the account and invest it in the market. And then you could use that again, especially if your retirement, you're going to have to spend close to $200,000 in retirement just for medical expenses. Right here, one of us is good for about, 25% of it. But that's a huge change that, you might not need in retirement. Thank you, and hope to see you in the next one.